G'day Internet, welcome to another episode of Morgan Makes. My name's Morgan, and today we're going to be doing an experiment. We're doing an experiment on resin. See, I want to cover this board here in resin, do another project, but I don't exactly know how to do that. So we're going to do some experiments. Got this resin glass coat here. I bought this from the hardware store. Had very little information available on the outside. Once I opened up the pamphlet though, it said I needed a treatment for the timber. So, I had a look around what I had. Didn't quite meet the requirements. But so I thought, why not do a test? If they're going to be cagey about the requirements for the product, why not see what happens if you get it wrong? So what we're going to do today is an experiment with different types of pre-treatment for the woods and two different types of resins. We're going to do a natural timber coat. We're going to do a limestone sandstone prep that I found in the shed. We'll see how that goes. And we're going to do the recommended treatment, which is this carbothane stuff. So, let's get to it.
So for this project I'm going to be using wooden samples out of this old fencing plank. This has been recovered from some suburban fence out in Western Sydney. Yeah, always got to love those recycled materials. Anyway, we're going to start off with an old builder's axiom. Measure a bunch of times and then cut a bunch more. And now that I have my 6 sample boards cut out, I'm going to use my belt sander to smooth and shape them a little. I tried to make sure that they're all as uniform and neat as possible and introduced a small bevel on the top side. Try and get the resin, a nice place to sit. And, we'll see how they go. And now let's take a look at some of the products that we've managed to get our hands on. First up we have the Pro-Tite Glass Coat Kit. That's going to be fun. Then we've got some glow-in-the-dark pigments. Also going to be fun. Cabot's Carbothane Clear is supposedly the weapon of choice for the application of this product, so let's give it a go. Just going to give it a nice thick coat and let it set. Cromland Limestone and Sandstone Sealer. Now there's a tongue twister. Let's give them a dip, see how they go. That just reminds me I've got to get around to sealing the back patio at some stage. So we'll put that away for another project, and let's pick a colour. And I think I'm liking cherry for this one. Let's see what cherry looks like. And it's always important when working with chemicals to read and follow the instructions. But they didn't tell you all the instructions on the outside of the box, so you didn't know everything to get. So multiple trips to the hardware store ensued. Hence why we're doing this video. So in a wax paper lined box, so I don't spill this everywhere, I have my 3 wooden samples. Naked and Natural, the Stone Dip, and the recommended wood preparation. I'm going to carefully measure out my A and B chemicals to make sure that I've got the required 1:2 mix ratio, and then dump in a fair amount of this cherry powder. It's very, very pink. Okay, then we pour B into A and stir gently for 2 minutes. And once the 2 parts are adequately mixed, we gently pour them over our samples. Even parts to a piece. And then try and spread it out as nice as we can so we get a, something approximating an even coat. I covered the top of the box in plastic wrap to stop any dust or leaves or hair, debris, whatever, settling on the resin and marring the surface. And 20 minutes later I came back with my little blowtorch to apparently degas and get rid of all the little air bubbles that formed. But I couldn't get rid of the air bubbles on the natural sample. It just kept drawing gases out of that piece of wood. So the issue I obviously had here was that very little of the resin actually stayed on top of my samples. A lot of it just ended up in the bottom of the box. So the obvious solution was to cut the excess flashing off with a razor knife and try and salvage as much as we can. Let's take a look at what we got. So in first place so far is the recommended treatment, followed by the stone coat, and in a distant third is the natural. It produced a lot of bubbles. Let's take a look at what it looks like in the dark with some of that excess. It's the best I could do, sorry. Yeah, I guess you can kind of see the glow. Anyway, to stop all that excess from going into the bottom of the bucket, let's give the new samples some tape walls. That might hold the next type of resin on there a little bit better. Do you ever get the feeling like you're being watched? So the second type of resin I'm trying is this Pro-Tite fiberglass clear casting and embedding resin. There's its catalyst, and this one's going to be mango flavored. Yummy. So the tin is a little bit old. I found it in the shed while looking for other things, but you know, it's good for this experiment. Let's give it a go. But despite its age, it still looks pretty good. We'll just carefully pour a good amount in there. It's about 80 or so mil, I think. Alright, and let's add some mango dust in there. Wonder if it'll actually glow orange this time. The last one didn't glow red. It was supposed to be cherry, but it glowed green. We'll see. Once the pigment's mixed in, I added about 35 drops of catalyst to this. It was quite a cold day, so, you know, the instructions said add more if it's a cold day, so I did. So we're just going to mix that gently for 2 minutes, scrape off the knife, and now it's time to pour. Don't bump the camera. Just pour that nice and gently in there. Yeah, it's almost like we're making little tarts. I love baking. Maybe I should have made a baking channel. Nah, my kitchen's a mess. So I'm just going to move these around and let all that resin pour out into the corners and fill over the entire surface area. And they're looking pretty good. Couple of nasty bubbles in there though. I'm going to give them a moment, and then I attempted to degas them, which was a mistake. Yeah, wait for it. Uh-oh. Yeesh. Don't do it again. Anyway, apparently the bubbles come out as they cure, so this resin's alright for that. You don't need to hit it with a flame, because apparently it's flammable. Although I stuck it on the 3D printer at 25 degrees C, and we'll let it cook off. It's time to go play with the dog. So the next morning I went and I peeled off the tape from the fiberglass resin samples, but they were still a little bit soft and sticky, so I let them set for another 12 hours. But now, apart from additional cure time, that's all the samples done. Yay. Still soft apparently. Now considering I wasn't expecting any of these to work at all, I'm actually kind of pleased with the results. And now the moment you've all been waiting for, let's see what they look like in the dark. Ooh, pretty. It's weird, because they give the most glow underneath where it's actually lifting off the piece of wood. I know. Maybe surface area has something to do with it. Okay, now it's time to rank our findings and pay the winners. Let's get into it. Starting off with 6th place. We have the stone dip method in the casting resin. It lifted quite badly, as you can see. I think I might have put too much catalyst in there. Glows really nicely in the dark, though. 5th place, we have the natural wood in the glass coat. Produced a lot of bubbles. Just kept drawing air out of that piece of wood. In 4th place, we have the stone dip method in the glass coat. A lot of this ran off the surface. Seemed to have got absorbed by the wood. It still produced a bit of bubbles even after degassing. A little bit weird, that one. Still a nice piece. 3rd place, we have the natural wood in the casting resin. Now, this one actually stuck really, really well. It stuck the best out of all the casting resin samples. And yeah, but it didn't give a really nice finish because that side sort of sunk into it. In 2nd place, we have the cabothane treatment with the casting resin. Obviously, that sort of worked really well. It stuck fairly nicely, and it's a nice thick coat all round. It didn't absorb into it, and it's, you know, nicely seated. And in 1st place is the recommended cabothane treatment with glass coat. This looks really, really good, despite a lot of the resin ending up on the bottom of the piece itself.
Thanks for sticking around to the end of my video. We've concluded the test, and we've come up with that the recommended treatment is obviously the best. You know, we had a lot of issues with the other ones. You know, them's the breaks, right? But this looks really good, and I think it's going to look really good on this. So, please like and subscribe, and you can follow me, and we'll find out what I'm going to do with this piece of wood here. Anyway, my name's been Morgan. I hope you have a fantastic day. Take it easy, guys, and I'll see you next time. Cheers.